What's up guys, my name is Brandon and we're testing out the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus front-facing camera right now. We're going to test out the rear-facing here in a few minutes, but this is what it looks like outdoors from the front-facing camera. I have it on a mount right here with the iPhone 7 Plus as well for comparison. We're going to switch back and forth between the audio and the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below, which one you think will have the best quality, the iPhone 7 Plus or the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus. So I'm trying to go in and out of the shade and the sunlight here so you can get kind of a good idea of how it reacts to those different situations. It looks like on screen, at least from here, it looks like the S8 is outperforming the iPhone 7 Plus right now. We're going to go into some more direct sunlight over here, put my sunglasses on and see what it looks like. You see here in the direct sunlight shining right on me. See how that looks. Go around here. So that is just a little sample of the front-facing camera comparing the S8 Plus to the iPhone 7 Plus. So now we're taking a look at some of the rear-facing camera shots on both the S8 Plus and the iPhone 7 Plus, both on auto mode. So the first image seems to be a little bit blown out on the S8 Plus, whereas the iPhone 7 Plus retains some of those darker shadows and more of that natural color that you'd see with your own eyes. One thing I've noticed with the S8 in comparison to the iPhone 7 is that the sky looks a lot better on the S8. It looks a lot more natural and a lot more realistic on the S8, whereas the iPhone 7 tends to be a little bit more neutral and not as blue as the S8. So right here I'm actually zooming in on this bird, and with the iPhone 7 I'm using its proprietary optical zoom feature, which takes advantage of that dual lens setup on the 7 Plus. And of course on the S8 Plus I had to manually pinch to zoom in to 2x. And you can see that the iPhone 7 Plus obviously has a lot better quality when it comes to zooming in, just because of that proprietary feature and the fact that it has a dual lens setup. And I think for well lit indoor photos the S8 definitely beats the 7 Plus, but for outdoor photos during the day, you know, I can't really choose one over the other. It's so tough. They're so great, both of them. And you know, sometimes I'll see an S8 photo and be like, wow, it really brought out the colors in that flower, or wow, it really brought out the colors in that car, where the iPhone 7 couldn't. And then other times, you know, I'm like, wow, the 7 Plus really brings out the shadows. It looks a lot more natural and realistic on the 7 Plus, whereas the S8 blows it out a little bit more and it has a little bit more saturation for my taste. All right, we're testing out the OIS on both devices. We are walking both the iPhone 7 Plus and the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus are both on the same tripod mount, both at the same position. So we're walking the same steps. There's no difference at all in each device as far as how this video is being recorded. So yeah, I probably don't need to tell you, but the stabilization in 4K on the Samsung Galaxy S8 was giving me major problems. It was very janky, it was very jerky, it was not very stable at all, especially when compared to the iPhone 7 Plus. However, when I switched back to 1080p at 30 frames a second, all of a sudden it was just as stable as the iPhone 7 Plus, and we didn't have all that jankiness, all that craziness going on. So here I'm testing the autofocus speed on both the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, and you can just see how quick that dual pixel autofocus is. It's just so amazing how quick it is. And here's the same shot but with the iPhone 7 Plus, and as you can see there is a big difference in the autofocus speed. The S8 Plus definitely is a lot quicker when it comes to autofocusing. And here's another test with autofocus with more of a dramatic demonstration, I'd say, going from an object really up close and then back to the background. As you can see, the S8 again is just very snappy with that dual pixel autofocus. And here's the same test with the iPhone 7 Plus, and you can just tell how much slower it is. And you know, it's not necessarily slow in real life usage, like when you're using it, you know, out in the field or whatever, but in this comparison, you could just tell more of a difference in the autofocus speed. But once again, when you're actually out there shooting photos and shooting video, you know, with autofocus, it's not going to be that big of a difference. However, the S8 Plus clearly wins here. Now let's take a look at some of the low light images and low light video from both the S8 Plus and the iPhone 7 Plus. So you can see here, the S8 continues to brighten up images a bit more than the iPhone in low light, which I definitely do not prefer. I don't think most people prefer, you know, their dark images, their images at night to be brightened up like the S8 is doing. But, you know, that's just kind of personal preference, I'd say. But you can really see it here with this small tree. I mean, the S8 brightens up the image a bit more than I'd like, and the iPhone 7 Plus keeps that darker, more natural look. Then back to the American flag, but this time in low light, and you can see the same story. So the iPhone 7 Plus looks better in my opinion just because it keeps that dark, more natural look like I said, whereas the S8 Plus kind of brightens it up a little bit more than you'd really see in real life. So all in all, after spending a full day shooting photos and video on both the iPhone 7 Plus and the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, Here are my opinions on which one is better. So I think the S8 wins in number 1, front-facing camera. I think mainly for video and audio quality as opposed to image quality, because the image quality isn't that great from the front-facing camera from the S8, especially compared to the iPhone 7 Plus. I think the 7 Plus is actually better in picture quality, but I think the S8 is better for video, audio quality, and the fact that it has autofocus. I also think that the S8 wins in semi-well-lit indoor and outdoor shots, although the iPhone definitely produces a much better picture in direct sunlight, as you saw in the very first clip of this video. And lastly, the S8 wins in autofocus. It definitely has faster autofocus than the 7 Plus. However, I do think that the iPhone 7 Plus wins in a couple categories as well. Number 1, the biggest one for me, is low light situations. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying that the S8 is better in low light, but I personally think the iPhone 7 Plus is much better in low light just because it gives off a more natural and dark look. The iPhone 7 Plus also has optical zoom with that dual camera setup and that telephoto lens, so it's definitely better if you want to zoom in on your subject and take pictures. I also think the iPhone 7 Plus has better OIS. As you saw in the beginning of this video, the S8 really struggled with stabilizing all of my shots, especially when I was shooting in 4K. And then lastly, I also think that the 7 Plus seemed to take better macro shots, especially when I was up close with like flowers or I had a rock directly in front of me. I just feel like the picture quality was much better on the 7 Plus as opposed to the S8. So with all that being said, it's tough to pick a real winner here. They're both amazing cameras and are great for different situations. I would definitely not buy one device over the other just because of the camera, because real world usage, like when you're actually out there taking pictures, you're not going to notice a big difference at all. So what do you guys think? Which camera do you prefer, the S8 or the iPhone 7 Plus? So thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and also stay tuned for a lot more Samsung Galaxy S8 coverage and more comparisons. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.